What's good, gamers? We are at the beginning of yet another episode that I am summarizing, comparing the sub and the dub of Dragon Ball. Not many notes today. Not much to say about the Japanese translated um, version of this episode. It's cool. It's very visual heavy. So, once again, gonna try to pad for time here. Um, Day's been pretty alright. Only had one job again. Unfortunately, I left my battery charger for my drill at that job site, so I'm gonna have to go back right after I finish recording this. So, that's great. Anyway, episode start. We open on a shot of Pilaf's castle as dark clouds roll in. Um, if you recall from last episode, they were preparing to summon Shenron. Pilaf stands before all seven balls collected on a purple pillow, raises his arms, and says, "Come forth, dragon. I call upon you to grant my wish." Um, which is a little less wordy in the sub. He just says, "Come forth, dragon, and grant my wish." But very minor difference. We see Puar and Oolong are still struggling to reach them in time as Yamcha, Bulma, and Goku watch on from the hole that Goku blasted in the wall with his Kamehameha wave. Um, we shoot back to Pilaf asking once again, "Eternal Dragon, rise." And we get kind of like a rainbow aura emanating from the balls, which I don't think we see again. Um, Usually it's just like glowing and electricity. But at last, the dragon begins to rise out of the balls. Great amounts of electricity emanate from them and shoot up towards the sky. And we get a shot of Shenron uh, appearing between dark clouds. We get the title card, "A Wish to the Eternal Dragon," which in the subbed version is "The Wish to Shenlong." Um, Bulma, Yamcha, and Goku are still stuck there, I guess. They've kind of found themselves complacent uh, in their watching Pilaf become the new ruler of the world. Uh, we see a shot of him kind of daydreaming his new rule. We see him adorned with a new crown. Still got that same star that he has on his little boy hat. Um, but similar crown as he rules over a bunch of people. He doesn't seem to be doing anything nefarious. He just wants people to love him a lot, I guess. Which, realistically, when it comes down to it, that's what every person looking to dominate the world wants, is just a lot of people to love them. Um, we get a shot of him with his hands around a globe to show his power over the world. Once again, visual heavy episode. Shinron descends before him, um, and it it really comes into view just how giant Shenron is. He's like at least 40 or 50 stories tall. He says, uh, Are you the one who uh, called me forth to Pilaf? And he says, yes. And he says, I will grant you any one wish. Um, Pilaf kind of stutters a bit. He's, it seems he's nervous before Shenron. He sees the gigantic dragon and he's, uh, awestruck, I suppose. Um, Bulma and Yamcha are kind of cowering in the corner, feeling sorry for themselves. They're very upset about not getting their wish. While Goku begins to fire Kamehameha waves at the wall again, finally choosing action. Um, Unfortunately, he hasn't eaten recently, so they're not very strong. Um, Shenron says, make your wish now. And as Pilaf is wishing to become the supreme ruler of the world, Oolong lunges forward, jumps on his head, and wishes for a pair of ultra soft underwear. Which in the sub, he asks for a pair of girls' panties specifically. In the dub, they just make it so that he wants soft underwear. But it's the same pair of panties that we see descend from the sky. And it's the same sound effects and like sultry jazz that plays as they fall from the sky. So we know what's going on, even if they change the words. Your wish has been granted. He does not say goodbye in the English dub. In the sub, he says "fare thee well," but there's no hello or goodbye from him in the dub. The Dragon Balls descend towards the or ascend towards the sky and begin to scatter as Pilaf, Mai, and Shu watch on in what can only be described as horror and amazement at the same time. Uh, Goku says, "Where are they going?" And Bulma explains to us that they disperse after making a wish. They disappear. Um, and Goku's like, "That even my grandpa's 4-star ball, that's gone now." She's like, "Yeah." Um, Pilaf says something to the effect of "capture them" or "get them." But in the sub, he says it's executions for the lot of them. Um, so there's that. Also, I was watching or not watching, I was reading Journey to the West today, and the Flying Nimbus is also a Journey to the West concept. There it's described as a somersault cloud because Sun Wukong somersaults into the sky and then hops onto the cloud and begins to ride it. Um, but that's also a Journey to the West thing. Bulma, Yamcha, and the gang begin to run away. They have to grab Goku from sitting down because he's just so famished that he can't move. He's refusing to move. Um, and Shu begins calling forth his army of ravenous dogs to sick him. Is the best way to put it. They appear before Oolong and Puar, and they book it. This entire time, Oolong's been wearing this pair of ultra soft underwear on his head. because he's a very classy individual. Classiest pig you've ever met. Uh, we jump back to Yamcha, Bulma, and Goku, and they're running down a corridor and have just been cornered by these ravenous dogs. Uh, Goku's still tired as fuck, um, and Yamcha's like, I gotta get use out of you somehow, and just launches him towards the dogs. Uh, Luckily, Goku begins hallucinating and sees the dogs as like chicken wings. Um, he's just very hungry, so he's beating the dogs up in hopes that he can get a nice meal. Um, Yamcha busts out the Wolf Fang Fist to uh, fist these wolves, I suppose. And they continue on running down the hallway as more dogs catch up to him. And we're at the mid card. Finally, it kind of feels like this episode has dragged. Um, just not too much interesting stuff happening. I suppose that's due to us seeing the dragon at the very beginning. It's like, how are you going to top that? You kind of peaked. Yamcha, Bulma, and Goku made it to a room. Um, it looks like uh, it looks like Pilaf's control room because there's a feast set up on that same round table that he was eating at initially. Um, they make it to that room and fight some more dogs. And Puar and Oolong are still running from the dogs. Like, there's not that much happening. I don't know what to tell you. Um, Goku, Yamcha, and Bulma all grab on to Goku's power pole, which in the sub is called Nyobu, Nyoibou. Um, but he extends them up into the air to avoid the dogs. And we get a shot of Oolong and Puar casually turning into birds to fly out of there. And they just so happen to fly underneath Yamcha, Bulma, and Goku as they are falling down from that height that the power pole brought them to. So they knock out Puar and Oolong, and Yamcha is left to defend them from the wolves. We see Mai and Shu jump down from the ceiling and kind of corner the rest of the gang. To which Yamcha turns around and is horrified as Pilaf laughs from above them. They're now enclosed between four walls of solid metal, but a glass ceiling. Goku, like a child, mistakes it for not having any kind of ceiling at all. He's just like, oh, they left it open. I'll be able to get out no problem. But Bulma hits him with the no, it's tempered glass, don't do that. And of course he jumps anyway and hits his head. So they're trapped in this kind of room, but they can still see the outside pretty clearly. Bulma is now explaining to us that we can't gather the Dragon Balls for another year. After they're scattered across the earth from the previous wish, they turn into stone for an entire year. So you can't make any kind of wish on them. Yamcha laments that he's going to have to be shy around women for an entire year more. which in the sub he laments that he won't be married anytime soon. So, again, extremes in the sub versus the dub. Um, Pilaf is explaining that their room is specifically designed to cook them alive. That that room with the glass on top, once the sun comes up, it's gonna fry them. It's gonna fry them. In the sub, he says, "I'm going to put every one of you to death, but I'm no savage." And then goes on to say, "The glass will amplify the sun, and you'll be cooked alive," like a savage would say. Um, and they start freaking out naturally, except for Goku. He's still hungry. Um, and Goku and Yamcha start like blasting Kamehameha waves and punching the wall, and neither of them can make a dent, which is crazy because Goku was just hungry a second ago. I thought he couldn't like produce anything meaningful when he was hungry, but apparently that's not the case. Yamcha says, "Oh, it looks like we're stuck here," which, no shit, dude. We get a huge shot of the moon shining next to his tower. Pilaf's building a castle out of cards. He's building the tower, the triangle tower, and then pours his coffee on them, which didn't make sense in the sub or the dub to me. It just didn't it didn't really track as to why he would do that. We see Goku lying on the ground, and it seems like he tuckered himself out, went for a nap. Bulma's pissed at Oolong. Uh, what's new? He's kind of just trying to pass the time before he dies, I guess. But we see Puar staring at the moon. Oolong's like, "What are you doing?" And Puar's like, "Just looking at the moon." Um, Oolong's like, why are you staring at the moon? Aren't you worried about tomorrow? But Puar's like, it's the moon. I like the moon. Um, it's a full moon. It looks good." And Goku hears full moon and he says, "Uh-oh, there's a terrible monster that comes out at the full moon." He says, "My grandfather got killed by a terrible moon monster." And uh Yamcha's like, "You that's crazy. It killed Gohan, the martial arts master?" And he's like, "Yeah, it cleared out an entire forest. It was insane." Um, he says he never really got a look at the monster to be able to tell what it looked like because his grandpa always warned him not to look at the full moon. Um, so naturally, the gang picks up on that and they're very afraid of him. They see that tail wagging around and they're like, "Have you ever seen the moon, Goku?" And he's like, "Yeah, I did once accidentally. Um, I went outside to pee and just saw it. Um, but I don't remember what happened after that." And they're contemplating whether or not they should put it to the test. Uh, if Goku should look at this moon and turn into this monkey. Oh, oops. I don't think it was revealed that he was a monkey. Uh, Bulma says, "Whatever you do, Goku, don't look above you," and points to the moon. And naturally, he turns around and looks at the moon. And he says, "Oops," looked at it, and seems normal for a moment, but uh, then like a lightning strike crosses his vision. You know what the thing is. It goes, and his eyes turn red. His body begins to transform. It seems like he's losing consciousness as his pupils disappear. His clothes begin to rip off like he's the Incredible Hulk. Uh, un- Unlike the Hulk, his canines start growing, and he starts getting like fur all along his arms. His mouth elongates into a snout, and he grows mutton chops. Uh, but as he grows taller and taller, the glass begins to shatter as his size just can't be contained by this small room. Uh, the rumbling from the earth that this transformation is causing has woken Shu and Mai from their slumber. They're like, what the fuck could they be doing? Mm. The narrator uh, gives a very, like, afraid, what's gonna happen? Is he gonna kill everyone? Find out next time in the dub. But in the sub, he says, even the writer is frightened out of his wits. He had no idea at all. Uh, in reference to Goku being this great ape. And that's the end of the episode. Uh, not too much happened. Not my favorite episode. There is one that I adore coming up soon, so I can't wait for that one. But for the 12th episode of the series, it's kind of eh. They it feels like they had to follow up the dragon with, something big, like a shocking reveal. Um, but it's all right. It's all right. It's the first time we see the great ape, and now we know something about Goku, and we know why that tail is there. Um, so yeah, good enough. Hope you enjoyed the summary. Leave a like, hit that subscribe button, hit that bell icon. Fucking, just have a good night. Um, yeah, that's it for me. Let me turn on the mouse before I click the stop recording button. Okay, bye.